Hi, my name is Sarah Trumbull. I'm the founder and CEO of the Job Applicant Perspective. I have a cold right now, but I'm doing some go-to-market funding or go-to-market awareness campaign, first mover stuff you would not believe, but apparently you're trying to train $100 billion market. You have to do a lot of go-to-market stuff on a bootstrap budget. You get creative. So I look kind of like an AI, but this is actually really me. And it's an improvement from what I had. So, it's fun for me. Nah, but seriously, I'm reading from a blog post. It's just another format for me to get out the message and the educational stuff. And this blog post is called The Obedience Economy, Why We Keep Trying to Belong to Systems That Don't Choose Us. I would call myself, so I'm a systems theorist, a structural systems theorist. I call myself a dive bar economist. I say I'm an economist by necessity, a structural systems theorist by nature, and a startup entrepreneur by trade. So, but I have a lot of work on SSRN in the space of economics. But you can check it out. They're kind of like working paper, white paper, preprint kind of stuff, if that's your bag. But this is a variation on that. It's from I have a series of things called the theory of online market gravity. I have several structural systems theories about online digital labor markets that I put there, and this is a blog version of that. It's called The Obedience Economy, Why We Try to Keep Belonging to Systems That Don't Choose Us. It's my principle 5 in conditional belonging. Who this is for job seekers and career coaches. This post explains why your effort hasn't always translated into an opportunity. It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because the system rewards performance over clarity. If you felt like the rules keep shifting or like your survival depends on staying professional even when the platform ghosts you, this is why. For journalists and policy thinkers, this isn't a story about individual struggle. It's a structural feedback failure. Platforms are monetizing silence and obedience, not outcomes. And they're reshaping labor behavior as a result. If you want to understand the modern labor market's collapse, this is a lens that explains what your data can't quite see. And for economists and platform analysts, this is a behavioral framework for performance under asymmetric visibility. It extends the logic of two-sided markets to account for what happens when one side has all the metrics and none of the pressure to respond. You've modeled equilibrium. This model's internalized constraint. Part 1, the rituals of trying. You polish the resume, reformat, reword, rewrite, another line tweaked to match what they might want, even if you're not sure what that is anymore. You're not convinced it'll work, but you're sure you can't stop, not because you expect success, but because you're afraid of silence. In today's job market, the most rational thing a person can do is to perform just enough to remain eligible, visible, not discarded. This isn't just about being seen, it's about not being erased. The conditional belonging principle. In healthy systems, participation is based on feedback. You act, the system responds, you learn, you adjust, you try again. But in today's digital labor market, that feedback loop is broken. And in its place is something subtler and more corrosive. When access to opportunity becomes conditional and unpredictable, people stop aiming to succeed and start working not to get filtered out. It's not conditional obedience, unconditional obedience, but it starts to feel like it. Like anything else. Like anything less than full compliance might cost you the one chance you never even knew you had. And so people try, and they try, and they try again, not for the reward, but to avoid exclusion. Platforms don't need you to succeed. They just need you to keep trying. Digital hiring platforms don't need to deliver outcomes. They need to deliver engagement, metrics, motion, activity. They simulate scarcity, obscure their inner mechanics, and reward those who appear compliant with greater visibility, whether or not there's any real opportunity behind it. One-click applies, status received, ghost listings and spam roles labeled urgent. These systems rarely say yes, but they make it very easy to keep hoping. Belonging becomes performance, not a destination. Obedience becomes a currency. The system doesn't need to police you. You start policing yourself. Eventually, platforms don't even have to enforce the rules. You enforce them on yourself and sometimes on someone else. You adopt the tone that sounds professional, even if it says nothing real. You shame those who stop trying or who go off script or speak honestly. You fine-tune your image not because it works, but because deviating feels dangerous. This is how performance becomes culture, not because someone demanded it, but because the logic of survival rewards quiet compliance. The job market no longer selects for skill, it selects for a certain type of social pattern recognition and willingness to repeat the pattern even when the pattern is broken. The mirror you weren't expecting? It's easy to think this only happens to job seekers, but every system with unspoken rules creates its own version of this cycle. The difference is who gets punished for disobedience and who gets to walk away. Maybe you've never had to fear being filtered out. Maybe you've always had the right resume, the right voice, the right proximity to whatever counted as belonging, as power, the right gender, the right race, the right able-bodied status. If so, then the system never felt broken to you. But for everyone else, the normal became performance. Endless, careful performance for a door that might not even open. If the rules were clear, people would try to win, but then the rules are opaque, people try to survive. This isn't a nice-to-have market. This isn't a dating app. You cannot delete unemployment. You can't swipe past rent. You can't log off your need for health insurance. That's why people keep trying, because there's no real alternative. If the only way to be seen is to perform, then we perform. But that's not a sign of irrationality. It's a sign of a system that's been designed to make hope feel just accessible enough to stay profitable, but never real enough to resolve. So what do we do with that? We get curious and we consider this system from multiple angles. We publicly stop treating job seekers' behavior like the only possible cause for labor market dysfunction. Nonsense. Nonsense. This is obviously a magic claw machine. That's what it is. We stop demanding more effort to the system and start demanding the system bend to meet the needs of the human users that make it so profitable. And we stop rewarding platforms for optimizing silence. Instead, we build systems that recognize signal, not style, that offer feedback, not guesswork, that show their outcomes, not just their interfaces. At the job applicant perspective, we're building tools for exactly that, not because it's easy, but because trust requires feedback. You cannot build real belonging by suppressing resistance. You build it by creating a space where people can push back and be heard, where a system has the capacity to adapt to meet the needs, not the requirement to squelch them lest it fall apart. I cannot stress this enough. One of the biggest mistakes is a system that is rigid is strong. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Rigidity is fragility with a nice performance package. Anything that doesn't adapt, it's not because it's stronger. It's because it's more fragile. It's just covering it up. It's just covering it up. That's right. The job applicant perspective, we're not afraid of feedback. We build systems to withstand feedback, to hold it. If you're still trying or if you've given up, you're not weak and you're not broken. You are reacting exactly like any human reacts in these scenarios. Let's stop asking people to earn their place in a system that profits from extracting individuality, hope, safety, and financial security and replacing it with robotic compliance with the ever-changing norm. If you want to go deeper, I have an SSRN with 14 papers now. It's posted part of a broader theoretical framework I've been developing. I've developed it now. Theory of online market gravity, Sarah Trumbull, the Rohr principle, which is the two-sided trust principle. No, two-sided trust, I think. My daughter, the Micah principle, is my son. But also it's the two-sided trust principle and the Jevons paradox, two-stakeholder Jevons paradox. But, a girl gets to have fun with the names. But it explains how digital platforms, including job boards, hiring systems, and labor marketplaces collapse when their incentives disconnect from user outcomes. Principle 1 is markets optimize what they measure, how platform metrics distort behavior. Principle 2, the functional tension axiom, why systems need tension to stay adaptive. Principle 3, the two-sided trust principle, when feedback is asymmetric, trust decays. Principle 4, the limits of asymmetric efficiency, false stabilization, and quiet collapse, the Micah principle, two-stakeholder Jevons. And principle 5, this post conditional belonging, and the obedience economy. And I have one more, principle 6 too. I didn't write it till after this vlog, but regardless, building something different at the job applicant perspective. We're not just trying to describe the problem, we're building tools to fix it. Anonymous reviews of job ads, ghost job flagging, feedback from job seekers on hiring experiences, site-based, signal-based reputation tools for employers. We're creating a hiring system that rewards trust, not performance data, that shows whether job post is real, not just whether it's polished. They give job seekers data, not just advice, because you should not have to perform belonging to get a job, and you should not have to do guesswork about whether a job is real. It's silly. It's silly. Yeah. So you should stop by. We'd love to have you. The internet made the job market into a snowstorm. The way to handle in a snowstorm, you don't call the corporate office. You talk to drivers on the road. That's what you do. Hope you stop by. Have a great evening.